Welcome to The Project. Tonight, the Aussie city at war with Elon Musk. We find out just what's got them so riled up.
How one of the world's top makeup influencers delivers flawless makeup despite being completely blind.
An airline deals with a 2-hour flight delay by letting kids take over the intercom. Passengers had mixed feelings, so do I, on the result.
And he created one of the most popular kids' books ever. We chat with Diary of a Wimpy Kid author, Jeff Kinney, live in studio.
Yes, we are live from the lands of the cooler nations. Rob is here and so is Susan. Yay! Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's the end of May. Happy birthday to my sister Marie.
Oh, fantastic. Happy
She's
birthday,
definitely
Marie.
not watching.
Let's get into some of the news for the day. And there's a classic David versus Goliath battle underway in Australia as residents fight the richest man in the world and his company's plans to build a new factory on community land. Tesla CEO Elon Musk, the man with a trail of high-profile exes in his wake. Amber Heard, Grimes, the city of Adelaide. Almost 8 years after Elon won both Hearts and Rundle Mall balls with a giant battery in South Australia to prevent energy blackouts, a local council has approved Tesla's proposal to build a battery factory on community land. And not everyone's happy.
Pretty clear that we are not happy with that outcome. We should not be giving away our community lands. We should be maintaining them and enhancing them for the benefit of the environment as well as human health.
When the Marion City Council informed residents of the pitch, it received almost 1,000 submissions from locals, with 95% against Musk. And while that sounds like the name of one of his kids, it shows how the tide has turned against the man who recently ensconced himself with Trump, promoted Germany's far right, and did this. Those local submissions were pretty passionate. So passionate, the council had to tidy it up a bit.
Elon Musk is a full-blown
Elon Musk and Tesla are a on humanity.
We should not support and put money in the pockets of a...
But despite the billionaire's disapproval reaching greater heights than many of his rockets, Marion Council overruled community sentiment and voted to approve the project, pointing to the 100 jobs and estimated $56 million economic benefit it would bring to the area. But not all opposition was based on a personal dislike of Musk.
The only things that are really maintaining that site so that it is not a higher risk to the groundwater or human health is the mature trees on that site.
But the Mayor of Marion says the area is pretty much a wasteland, a point he made with some funky background beats.
Once we realised that the soil had been contaminated from years of car industry use, the fact is it's been fenced off and unusable, and it won't be used for recreation again.
I think that's a very sad picture. I think that we need to improve the way we hold organisations accountable for the contamination of a site, because it's the taxpayers that end up paying for the remediation.
So with the approval process now heading to the state level, who will prevail in the war between Marion and Elon?
My money's on the juggler. Sarah Luscombe is one of the councillors from the Marion Council who voted against the land sale. Sarah, why did you vote against Musk's factory?
Well, I'm just obviously one local councillor and I can't speak on behalf of the whole of council, but in my mind it's really important to consider the community's feedback. And when you've got 95% of people agreeing on something, it's not often actually that you can get 95% of people to agree on anything actually. But I certainly saw it as my view to stick up for those views. Too often we see the views of small communities just being smashed by big corporations. And the community was really clear with me that they wanted to keep the almost 60 mature trees that are on the site, and also that they didn't want that community land to be revoked in order to build a Tesla factory.
Yeah, I find it interesting when the community that you were meant to represent overwhelmingly go one way, for then the council to go, we don't care. Does that not have repercussions?
Well, I don't know. I think certainly different councillors weighed up different perspectives with regard to making the decision. For me, I saw it as an important opportunity to represent the community. I think it's a complex issue, it's nuanced. As you heard, the land is contaminated. But what is also the case is that we know with this type of contamination, trees, particularly mature trees with their roots, can actually help to remediate this kind of contamination. So to my mind, it would make more sense to actually plant more trees to actually look into how we can innovate with the site. We haven't looked into anything else for this site. This was kind of the first shiny thing that came along. So personally, in my view, I would have loved, and certainly I advocated to the Chamber, to look into something else and explore other options.
Sarah, because of the contamination, is there a timeline on when the land could be used for other things?
Well, we haven't actually looked into any of that, and that's what I would have liked to have seen, is to really do an in-depth analysis of what is possible on this land and to deal with it in a way that's in line with our community's expectations. When you've got 95% of people that are against something, and even when you drill down into the data of people that live really close to the area, it was still over 90% of people that did not want this in their backyards.
South Australia and Elon Musk seem to have a really lovely relationship going on a few years ago, Sarah. Does he just need to, accept that it's over and move on?
Well, certainly I can't speak for the state government, and I certainly cannot speak for Elon Musk. I can only speak for our local council, who, well, not our local council, but our local community, rather. And certainly they've been very clear that when it comes to being able to stand up for our local rights, that's what they wanted.
Sarah, we appreciate your time. We'll keep following it. Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
No more fruit chops for him. Well, in the US, look, we've all had it circled in our calendars. A huge week for spelling bees, everybody.
Yes.
You know how it works. Bunch of kids get on stage and they're asked to spell impossibly tough words, but don't panic, they love it.
And what's your favourite thing about spelling?
I don't know.
Okay, except for that kid. But for the rest of them, they love it. And at today's national final, it felt like they were getting to the point where I think they were just running out of words because it seemed that they just started to make them up.
Oh. Hello.
It's Josiah.
Hi, Josiah. Your word is myrack.
Oh. Oh.
Can I please have all the information?
Yeah.
Myrack is a noun. There's no origin for this word in our dictionary.
Oh.
Yeah, there's no origin. We just made it up. And your next word is
P.
Swedish origin by the sounds of it. You don't want myrack in a sentence, I guess.
Speak for yourself.
It is a Friday. So then it's all come down to 13-year-old Faison Zaki, who was down there ready to spell the final word to take out the spelling bee. A lot of pressure on the young guy, but the judge had some calming words to ease his nerves.
So if you spell this next word correctly, we will declare you the champion. Now, let's all of us take a deep breath.
That did not help at all.
Yeah. If you're trying to ease a child's mind, do not laugh like Voldemort. But then he finished up runner-up last year by tripping at the finish line. So Faison went to spell his final word. It got very emotional.
Your word is éclaircissement.
Éclaircissement. E-C-L-A-I-R-C-I-S-S-E-M-E-N-T. That is correct.
Yes, Faison. That woman is looking up. I think that's when they release the bees. Yeah. And in case you're wondering, well, what happens now? What does the future hold for our winner? It's not pointless. Think again if you think that, because these past champions are here to remind you just where a spelling bee can take you.
40 years ago this week, I won the 1985 Scripps National Spelling Bee.
More than just being a cool icebreaker at dinner parties, winning the 2006 bee has meant so much to me.
I'm Paul Leffler, and I'm a speller too, on that stage before any of these competitors were born. Look at me now.
Now you're at the back of the room. And that other lady is now, of course, the voice of AI by the sounds of things. So there you have it. Time for a B-R-A-K-E. I've spelled the wrong break. It's the wrong break.
It's the wrong one. We'll see you soon.
Welcome back. This is the project.
Let's get some more of today's top stories. And Aussie singer Tones and I has been fined $3,000 after her American bulldog escaped and killed her neighbour's cavoodle. It happened in November last year as the neighbour walked his dog past her Mornington Peninsula home. He and another passerby were injured as they tried to stop the attack. The pop star's pet was put down as a result of the incident. She was also ordered to pay council costs. Victoria's state government has backed down temporarily on its controversial emergency services levy increase. It's giving farmers a one-year reprieve in the face of a huge backlash as part of an extended drought support package announced today. The levy increase is expected to be applied next year. Farmer Rob Armstrong says it's a huge relief, but they'll continue to campaign against it.
A bloke rang me today and he said, "You started this." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "What you did on the project on Channel 10, he said, that started all of this. And you should be really proud."
And the man accused of driving into a crowd of football fans in Liverpool this week has now been charged. Paul Doyle, a father of 3 and former Royal Marine, is facing 7 charges, including malicious wounding with intent and dangerous driving. Nearly 80 people were injured in the incident. The youngest was just 9. 7 people remain in hospital. And unique baby names are more popular than ever, but Japan is cracking down on particularly unusual ones. New rules came into effect this week, banning names like Nike, Pikachu and Pudding. but Japan's not the only country that has a veto on weird names. We do too, apparently. In Australia, it's illegal to call your baby Dame or King, among other things like IKEA, cyanide and Nutella.
You should be allowed to name your child IKEA.
Why?
Well, because you helped put it together. and to be honest, we had a little bit left over at the end too. There's always that.
Oh my God. I'm looking at this.
Alan, Key, IKEA.
Brilliant,
the whole thing.
of course.
Robocop.
Oh, is this a
also a
no-name?
No. Medicare. And G-Bang.
Oh, that's my name. Sad.
It is very sad. You're the last G-Bang left. I think this means that people have put in an application to call their children these names and they've been rejected. Imagine G-Bang.
Well, look, so there's no Robocop, but were you allowed Robocop 2? Like the sequel could come into it.
Robert O'Cop.
Sure.
Not Robot.
I was nearly called Pudding as a baby.
Oh, you are such a pudding.
Yeah, because I had a sticky date.
I should have seen it coming.
Moving on. If I'm looking a bit bleary, it's because, well, not because of this specifically, but this year marks the 30th anniversary of Free the Bears. It's an Aussie charity looking to end the illegal wildlife trade that sees many bears spend their lives locked up in cages. And in a bid to raise money, I, last night, spent the entire evening in a cage of my own. A short walk from Hobart's centre, this forgotten zoo tells a story of past captivity.
In 1936, the last Tasmanian tiger in captivity died at the Hobart Zoo.
A year later, the Beaumaris Zoo shut down. Today, this is one of the few relics that still stands, the leopard enclosure. Well, this is obviously haunted. Home of the last thylacine. Here we go. What a place to spend the night. Oh my gosh, this is it. What have I said yes to? This will be terrifying and cold and uncomfortable, but I guess that's the point. Yep, that is concrete and that is cold. And this is where I'm going to be spending the night. Now, this isn't just a stunt, this is me sending a message, because elsewhere in the world, this is how bears are spending not just the night, but their entire lives. And they aren't trapped just by steel, but by a lucrative market that cashes in on their pain. Bear bile farming is the practice of removing bile from captive bears' gallbladders to be used in traditional Chinese medicine. It's a painful process that's been banned in Vietnam, Laos and Cambodia, but even in 2025, it still takes place. Free the Bears rescues bears from bile farming and illegal trade across Southeast Asia and rehabilitates them. Last year, we brought you this story.
We strongly suspect that the person behind the purchase of all of these cubs was looking at setting up a new bear bile farm in Laos, which frankly would have been devastating.
A year later, and these cuties are thriving.
As you can see, they're growing fast, enjoying their best lives. They've graduated from the cub nursery into one of our stage 2 nursery facilities. And right now we've got our construction teams working on building them beautiful new homes.
But back here is a different story. It is cold, the floor is hard, the wind coming through is unbearable, pun intended. But I'm going to stick it out anyway. Like many other Aussies, I will be taking part in my night in a cage to support the wonderful work done by Free the Bears. So, good night.
This year is particularly meaningful because a few weeks ago we emptied these cages right here from Laos' very first bear bar farm. And today we're removing the cages to make sure that no bear ever has to stay in these cages again.
Okay, so it's the middle of the night. Every sound is terrifying. And I know I could be at home in my very comfortable bed, but instead I'm here feeling very scared and vulnerable and alone. But I guess that's kind of the point.
I did get a couple of hours sleep at one point, but I do think my pillow was trying to kill me.
The sun is up. It is morning, meaning I've officially spent the night in a cage. I did it. I did it! It was cold. It was uncomfortable. My pillow was way too inflated for some reason. But all of that pales in comparison to the conditions that bears in Southeast Asia are being put through in bile farms and through the illegal wildlife trade. So, does this make me a better person than you? Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Just a lot more tired than most. Thank you to the Bomara Zoo on Muwanina country for having me in Hobart.
Did you seriously get any sleep at all?
I was talking to one of the editors today because they were filming me all night. I was like, I'm sorry you had to sift through all that footage. He said it was 4 hours.
Yeah, so no.
So not really, no. It was rough, but again, that's the message we're trying to send.
Yeah.
And people have been donating to my Night in a Cage page, Night in a Cage 2025. Look for me there.
And they can still donate.
Still donate, absolutely. Those bears that we saw that were rescued last year, those 16, it takes about 50 grand to house them, feed them for the year. And that's what we're hoping to raise this year. So please, anything you can donate would be tremendous. So thank you very much to everybody who took part. Details on our website if you want more info on Free the Bears and how to sponsor me. Take part in it next year yourself.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it.
One fact that you told us that's really stuck with me is that for a lot of these bears, the first time that they've ever felt grass is as soon as they get out of those cages.
Yeah.
So have a think about that if you are able to donate. It is such a worthy
And the most
well
latest
done.
rescue could be happening as we speak with a bear that's been in a cage for 5 years. So hopefully that will end up being a good news story.
So great, Rove. OK, you're watching The Project. We'll be right back. And get sleep.
Welcome back. This is The Project.
Now, I'm very excited because our next guest is not your average influencer and YouTuber. Diagnosed at 4 years old with a rare eye disease, Molly Burke lost her sight completely by 14, but it did not stop her becoming one of the most recognisable faces in disability advocacy, amassing nearly 2 million YouTube subscribers by creating accessible, fun, enjoyable makeup tutorials.
Most people don't need 2 hands to do mascara. I do because of my technique where I pinch the bridge of my nose, which allows me to make sure that I don't do the classic blind makeup lover challenge of mascara, like we always seem to get it blobbed on our noses.
I'm taking note. Please welcome Molly Burke.
Yes, thank you. Now, Molly, you are so very known for your makeup tutorials. I've just gone down the biggest rabbit hole. It's addictive watching them. How do you go about doing your makeup?
That's a great question. And the problem was when I went blind at 14 and I wanted to be able to do my makeup without a mirror, there was no makeup tutorials for me.
No.
You know, I found YouTube, I started listening to other people's makeup tutorials for sighted girls, and I just had to adapt and experiment and try all these things and figure out my own tips and tricks and hacks. And that's ultimately one of the main reasons I started my own content was I didn't want other blind makeup lovers to have to go through blobbing the mascara on the nose and having too much fallout and one cheek brighter than the other. I wanted to share all of these things that I spent years kind of figuring out.
Now, this might seem like an ignorant question, but not only are you on YouTube, you also have a big social media presence as well. I would feel that things like Instagram in particular are very visual medium. How does that work for you? Are there other ways that you can access it to help it be a little bit easier for you to use?
Well, I've definitely trained my algorithm that if you're showing me like a video with just music or visuals, I'm swiping away. So it doesn't even bother showing those to me anymore. But there are things that I encourage people to do to make their content more inclusive, more accessible. Things like using camel case hashtags, which means you're capitalizing the first letter in the multi-word hashtag so that a screen reader user like me can still read the hashtags. Doing things like adding alt text, which is an image description, so that when I'm scrolling with a screen reader, it describes what the image is to me, so I'm included in that conversation. So there's lots of little ways that I try to encourage people to become more inclusive with their content.
What are some of the common misconceptions that you're kind of faced with as being, because you are a blind makeup artist, essentially?
Well, I appreciate you calling me a makeup artist. Young Molly is thrilled by that. I don't know if I would say that, but if you do, I'll own it.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of people wonder, A, why would I even bother? Like, why would I love makeup and fashion, these very visual things, if I can't see them? A lot of people don't think that I could do my own makeup or pick out my own outfits. I don't just pick out my own outfits, I pick out everybody's outfits. I am like my boyfriend's stylist, I'm my mom's stylist. But the reality is, blind people, going blind doesn't change who you are. It changes how you do things. It changes how you interact with the world around you. And so I just had to adapt. When I lost my vision, I still loved makeup and fashion, so I figured it out. But I want to live in a world where blind people don't have to figure it out themselves, right? Like, I want to encourage brands to take on that ownership to make their products more inclusive from the beginning. So I don't have to be the one putting Braille labels on my products, wrapping elastic bands around them, doing all of these little hacks, tactile bump hits, organizing my vanity so perfectly that I don't lose anything. I want brands to step up, which is why I came to Australia. I partnered with Guide Dogs Australia to encourage beauty brands to, you know, step up and think more inclusively with their design and with their marketing.
Great. Molly, I think you're incredible. It's Susie at the end of the desk here. I heard that you met Stevie Wonder. Was that a surreal moment?
That was huge for me because I grew up dreaming of working in the entertainment industry, but not seeing myself represented. And Stevie Wonder really was like the only person I had to look to. And so meeting him was honestly like a very emotional moment for me. I didn't think it would be, but I like immediately started welling up. I was just like, thank you for paving the way and showing people like young Molly that they can do this, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be what I did not see.
And is it also true that you met Naz Campanello, who's a brilliant newsreader from Australia?
Yes, she actually, the Boundless Beauty Summit with Guide Dogs, she was the MC, and it was so amazing meeting her. She's such a powerhouse. I feel like I've met a kindred spirit in her. I'm hoping to stay friends across the pond.
Yeah, have you enjoyed your time here?
I've loved it.
Because you've been here for a couple of weeks now.
I have. I went to Gari Island off the coast of Queensland.
Incredible.
I went to Taronga Zoo. I surfed on Bondi Beach. I did truly all like the touristy things. I had a Tim Tam.
Did you sleep in a cage at the zoo?
I'm leaving that to you. Although if they'd let me sleep with a koala, I might give it a go.
Now, you have the ability to pay it forward. So here you are, you know, it wasn't instantaneous for you. It was a gradual thing. As you mentioned, at 14 is when you lost your sight. It's a very impacting age for an impacting thing like that to happen. But here you are, resilient you. What advice would you have to someone in that similar sort of vulnerable age, very pivotal age? What advice would you have even for past Molly?
You know, I don't recommend going blind at any age, but 14 was one of the worst ages I probably could have picked. Deep in the midst of hormone changes and puberty, and you're kind of becoming a person, right? Like, you're starting to discover your own style, you're maybe starting to date, getting acne. It's a crazy time for everyone. So it was really life-altering to be going through all of that and then also go blind. And I really had to go through the process of figuring out how to grieve the person I was and the life that I thought I was going to have while trying to figure out how to keep living. And I think it's so important to let yourself grieve. Any loss at any age, grief is a part of it, and that's okay. But it's also important to recognize when you've let yourself be stuck in grief for too long, and you know that you need to give yourself a better shot, right? Like, I realized I was at rock bottom. I was throwing myself daily pity parties. I was depressed. I was suicidal. And I thought, I don't want to live like this forever.
Yeah.
And I have two options. Like, I can either choose to leave this world, or I can choose to give myself one more chance. And I gave myself one more chance, and this is where I am today.
It is incredible. And you are a beautiful, shining example of what a life can be, like a phoenix from the ashes. It's amazing. And thank you for being on the show tonight. And if you want to hear more about Molly's life, you can read her memoir, which is available for pre-order now, or go see her in person. She's hanging out at the zoo. She's having a great time. Please thank Molly Burke.
Now, it may seem like a harmless Instagram post, but images of your child shared online is contributing to their permanent digital trail. Now, a fight for the right to delete their data is ramping up.
They're pretty funny to look back on. I think I was always taught, think about what you're posting online.
Kids do things that, that they shouldn't.
72 million pieces of online data have already been collected about a child by the time they turn 13. In early years, much is gathered through sharenting, online posts from parents of their kids' lives.
One more. Just... What the hell just happened?
But vast amounts of kids' data is also collected on everything from smartwatches to online games to messaging and education apps. Companies known as data brokers make their millions by harvesting the data and selling it on to advertisers.
Maybe an employment opportunity wouldn't be available because of something that a child did, some silly thing that they said or did online. Also, educational opportunities could be closed off because of something, again, that they did when they didn't know any better.
Now, from next year, a new government code could give kids the legal right to demand their digital data is deleted once they turn 18.
I would personally erase my digital footprint. I think that's great. Sounds like a good thing. Everyone should have that right.
The code would apply to businesses earning more than $3 million. Tech giants like TikTok and Meta facing $50 million fines if they breach it.
I don't know how they would do it, but sure. I'd like to know more about how it works.
92% of Aussie teens says they want control over their digital past, with the option to either delete their data at 18 or for all their data to be automatically erased when they reach adulthood.
Children just aren't in a position to make wise judgments about how they behave, especially online, and we know that the material that they share online could be affecting their lives forever.
But in an era where every click, every purchase, every shared photo leaves a trace, can our kids really be forgotten online?
Whether it's absolutely 100% going to be effective in wiping out every possible instance, I think we'd probably have to say no, but that's not a reason not to have a law and not to have a code. Children just have a right to privacy.
Carly Kind is Australia's Privacy Commissioner and is actually in charge of developing the Children's Online Privacy Code that we just heard about. Carly, I think this is probably an obvious question, but why is this important?
So for a while now, there's been a bit of a recognition that our privacy laws are out of date given the advancements of the digital era. And so government has been involved in a process of updating those. And the first cab off the rank is to develop special rules that apply to children's personal information particularly. And that's really recognising that the internet wasn't designed for children. It's not always safe for children. And we want to make sure that children's privacy is protected when they're using the internet and digital tools.
Just how important is it to protect children's privacy?
I think it's really key to who we are as individuals, that we have the right and the ability to make choices about our life and who knows what about us. And that's what privacy really is. It's not about keeping things secret or hiding things. It's about being in control of your personal information and making choices about who knows what about you. And I think that that's really important for children as well as for adults. They need to feel that they have a space, that they have control, that they have agency when they're using digital tools. Because they're so integral to their lives now.
Carly, how would this work and how can we enforce it?
So I'm an independent regulator, I'm not a legislator, but I have a mandate to develop a set of rules in consultation with a range of different communities that will then become law next year. And those rules just have to be consistent with the existing privacy rules, but they can speak specifically to children. And then once they're in force, I have the ability to take investigations, to make inquiries, and ultimately to bring litigation in court against companies that might contravene those laws. And I can seek penalties of up to $50 million for contravention with privacy laws.
Hey, Carly, just from my understanding, why isn't it just a case of if someone doesn't want their data anymore, they can just delete their accounts, they can clear their search history? Why isn't it as simple as that?
You can absolutely delete your accounts, but what you can't control is the value chain of personal information that has leaked out beyond a simple individual account. So when you sign up to a service, when you buy something online, when you use a new app, there is often a whole range of ways in which your data gets passed on to other entities, it gets sold on for advertising. And once that has kind of leaked out beyond your control, you can delete the original profile. But how do you claw back that kind of leakage of personal information? And what we're saying is actually that's not a law-free space. All of those companies that are passing your data on from one to the next, like a game of Chinese whispers, all have to have responsibility, and particularly when it comes to kids.
When the E-Safety Commissioner proposed a crackdown on big tech, though, Elon Musk attacked her personally on social media. Are you worried?
One of the big challenges we face is that many of the really powerful actors in the digital domain are big tech companies with a lot of power, and they're not based in Australia. And that can be hard to make sure that regulation bites on them. I think it's really important that we continue to make the case that those companies have social as well as legal responsibilities, and that regulators like me are courageous, just as e-safety has been, in trying to assert our jurisdiction over those companies. But it's not a straightforward task.
Well, Carly, thank you very much for your insight.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we have to take a break. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. This is The Project.
The Project it is. Now, one of the golden rules of entertainment is don't work with children or animals, but I, Susie Youssef, quite literally laugh in the face of rules, especially when I chat all things rules with these little legends, because the rules are, there ain't no rules.
Why do we have rules?
If rules were not alive, then it would be a messier world. So that people are safe and that they don't get hurt. So you don't break a leg. I have a secret that I'm not allowed to tell.
Well, you better not tell her now because we've got cameras everywhere. What about at home? Are there rules at home?
No selling candy at home. Do not make your room messy and then just leave it. No spilling water or milk on the floor. I'm not allowed to get my mom's candy box because she loves it, and one time she said, that's everything to me.
What other rules do you have at home, Keeper?
No peeing on the ground.
It's a pretty good rule.
I have another rule. Don't wander off by yourself.
So what would happen if there were no rules?
There will be nothing like this.
There'd be no project? Well, that's a horrible world, isn't it?
Yeah.
For me personally, because that's my income.
We can get lollies ourselves.
So if there were no rules, how many lollies would you eat?
I'll do as many as I can until my belly's full. Yeah. I have another rule. That the airplane.
Okay, and what's the airplane rule?
No wandering off when we are landing.
What would happen if we had no rules in the whole world?
The human race will be extinct.
If we had no rules, the human race would be extinct? Gosh, we better keep some rules then.
Extinct.
Did you say the human race would stink?
No.
Do you think that you would be good at making rules for the whole country?
I'm not sure because I'm a little bit bossy. Yeah, I think I'll be able to do it, but I'll do really fun rules. And it's mostly for kids.
Okay.
The only thing that's not for free is toy rubber ducks.
They're the only things that you have to buy is rubber ducks?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm in.
I have another rule with a door.
What's another rule, Noah? I love this game, by the way.
Don't open the door when we're strangers.
Do you ever break the rules?
No. My younger sister breaks it. Yeah. I break them about 100,000 times in this life.
Oh my gosh.
I break them much more. Infinite. Infinite. Infinite and infinite.
Do you get busted?
Yes.
If you could make any new rule that you think would make the world a better place, what rule would you make?
The better choice is no bad people in the world. No more stealing. Like, literally, no stealing. You're not allowed to have a device every single day. Like, I remember like 50 years ago, if you were waiting for something, you would be reading a book, but now you're going to be looking on your phone.
Yeah, I remember that too. So there is a rule in South Australia that if you ring someone's doorbell just to annoy them, you have to pay the government $250. Do you think that's a good rule or a bad rule?
Good. Bad rule. Nah. Why don't pay the person who you rang the doorbell?
Exactly. They're the ones who are annoyed. Give them money, they'll be happy.
I know a rule about feet. Don't kick someone with our feet.
In Western Australia, most people aren't allowed to have more than 50 kilos of potatoes or they can be fined $2,000.
Bad rule. What? Oh, that's a bad rule. Nah. I would eat potatoes for every meal if I could.
Chips.
Potato chips. And I could just eating chips all day.
I just be like this.
Nom. I know a rule in China. No wondering what's that China? Because it's a really big country.
If you could get rid of any rule, which rule would you get rid of?
I would say there's no rules.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, because there's no rule. But then there would be a rule.
Oh yeah, that would be a rule.
Yeah. The rule is no rule. That's the only rule.
Avery, she's a rebel child.
And you can play on the iPad whenever you want.
Are you allowed to do that now?
No. I wish. I know another rule.
But rules are done, so we are.
Like, can we learn about new things now?
Yeah.
Is that Noah implementing that rule?
Oh my gosh, absolute heaven. I could have talked them
Although I do agree with young Hamish and Andy there that without rules, human waste would stink.
Yeah,
So they're absolutely
that's absolutely true. A really big shout out to the Rebels and Angels of Baldwin Primary School. Thanks for chatting with us, legends.
That was a great one, Susie. It's so gorgeous. Okay, to some more news. And imagine being stuck on a plane circling the airport and a tween starts singing Disney songs over the intercom. Well, footage of a young girl belting out "How Far I'll Go" from Moana on a flight to Orlando has gone viral. While some loved it, I'd love to meet them, others say it would have sent them over the edge.
See the line where the sky meets the sea, it calls me, and no one knows how far it goes. If the wind in my sail on the sea.
I have a lot of questions. Did she just get up and grab the phone? Was she given the phone? Did someone go? Was there an audition process? Was there 8 other kids?
I mean no disrespect to that little girl.
Here we go, Jay.
But I would have liked for the airport police or whoever was in charge to run at her, to board the plane and arrest her.
Hold on. It was, no, but it was a priceless performance. I mean, look at this bit.
Oh.
I know every but young guy as a role on this island.
Come on.
Moana did not want that.
No notes.
Do you remember that part when Moana was singing that song? She's on the front of the boat and she's like, and then a bug flew into her mouth? That was screen accurate.
God, I would have thrown
That song
myself.
is now stuck in your head.
from
You're
the
welcome.
See you after this. Welcome back. This is The Project.
Well, he's the author responsible for selling over 300 million copies of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series, proving the struggles of school and growing up indeed resonates with everyone except me. I was the coolest kid in town. Since then, Jeff Kinney has entertained and educated kids about the importance of reading, which he is in the country to do, and especially with us right now. Please welcome Jeff Kinney. This is great. So you wanted to, when you were starting out, you wanted to be a newspaper cartoonist.
Yes.
We've talked about 300 million books. You're about to, your 20th is on its way,
Yeah.
The Diary of a Wimpy Kid. That's not a bad fallback position to have been in for the job you wanted to have.
No, but thanks for reminding me of my failure to become a newspaper cartoonist. I do appreciate that. I didn't
Well,
know we
let's
were going
accent
there.
the positive.
Right.
So book 20, where are we at? What are you
Book
up to?
20. I'm writing it right here in Australia, which is really strange for me because I usually write my books like in a cemetery in Plainville, Massachusetts, which is where I live, not in a cemetery, in the town. But I sit in my car and I write my book there. And just weirdly, I've launched here. So the first third of this book, at least, was written here in Australia, and it's really cool.
Wow.
So writing here is weird, not the cemetery part.
Right, yeah.
Okay, just taking note. Is that because it's quiet? You don't get disturbed?
Yeah, it started in the pandemic because my kids were in the house doing virtual schooling. It was really noisy, too chaotic, so I drove to the cemetery. I got a blanket. It was a winter, snow on the ground. I got like some Skittles and double stuffed Oreos, and that's how I wrote. That's my fuel.
Sounds great.
Is part of the genius of your series the use of the word wimpy? I think it is such an underutilised word, especially these days, and it's just so great. It sparks such an image in your head.
Yeah, it's funny because back in the 1980s when I was growing up, the word nerd became a thing. It was like Revenge of the Nerds. So this word nerd had a lot of cachet. And I think that, back then it was like a demeaning term, right? And I think that kids these days are much more comfortable in their own skin. Like my son is an athlete, he played basketball, and I said, do you consider yourself a nerd? And he said, yeah, I do. And because he likes anime and he likes playing video games. And so I think kids have a different attitude these days about those kinds of words.
Had you ever considered naming it something else, a different kind of,
Yeah, I was afraid to call it Diary of a Wimpy Kid because I thought, what kid would pull this thing off the shelf? And because it sort of like says something about you.
Yeah.
So
I think like 300 million kids.
Yeah.
I have to ask you about the reaction that you get. I was the kid that wrote letters to my favourite authors to tell them how much I love their books. Do you receive these sort of letters and do any stand out?
I do, and it's really exciting to get these letters, especially because the span of the Wimpy Kid audience is so large now. It's 8 years old to like 27 years old. And a kid wrote me recently, and he wanted to let me know how impactful the books were for him as a kid. He was like 18, 19 years old now, but he said he moved from, I think, Taiwan to the US. He was really bullied. And he felt that he found a friend in Greg Heffley, and that Greg Heffley really pulled him through that experience, and that made me feel really good about things.
Oh my
Only sort of dampened by the fact you read it in a cemetery? Is that probably Hey, here's something I'm interested in, because you are a cartoonist, you are an author. That feels like a very introverted lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
And yet what you do now is very performative. You have to do stuff like this because you've become very famous. Your shows that you do for kids are very performative as well. How comfortable are you with that role now?
I've learned to be comfortable with it. I've learned from people like Andy Griffiths, who I consider a good friend, David Williams. They're performers, right? And I think you have to be a performer now to be a kid's author. What's really interesting is that the people at the very top, those people like J.K. Rowling and Rick Riordan, Suzanne Collins, Stephanie Meyer, they're all really introverts. They really don't like to be out there, performing in that way. And so I've tried to learn to get comfortable with that because that's a good way to engage the audience.
Well, look, from what I'm hearing, it's going to be a very messy show if you get the chance to get there. So Jeff will be appearing at the Melbourne Convention Centre in Melbourne tomorrow. You can head to our website for ticket details or details. Please thank Jeff Kinney. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you very much.
It's going to be messy, right?
If I give you a choice of being a children's author and a bookstore owner, because you're both, what's the best job?
Oh, yeah. I think it's a both kind of thing. I can't choose between the two.
Oh, what a lucky life.
Do you only sell your books in your bookshop?
No, we sell all sorts. It's a general bookstore.
But surely there's a lovely special wall, which is Diary of a Wimpy Kid. All of them, everywhere. Look, that is it for tonight. Please stick around because the Matildas are taking on Argentina. Perth, you can continue watching on 10 Bold. Everyone else, stay on 10. It's coming up. We'll see you 6 p.m. Sunday for the Sunday Project. See you then.
Have a great weekend.